What'd you do first, guys?
First, you gotta get the constant by the x by itself.
Yeah.
So you have to add 20 to both sides.
Very good. You'd add the 20 to both sides and you would get x squared plus 8x equals 20. Very good job. Feel okay with that? All right, then what would I do?
Well, then this is where they kind of went wrong.
Yeah.
It's like you take the second thing and divide it by 2.
Yeah.
And square root and square it. That's
Uh-huh.
where it's squared.
So that gives me 4 squared, which is this is where I get to cheat in a minute, right? And that gives me 16. What do I do with the 16? Add it to both sides, right?
So that's where what's her name?
Ada? Yeah.
Gets it wrong.
That's where Ada went wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Did Alonzo do that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you notice anything about Alonzo? Did he do all his steps right?
No.
What did he do wrong?
Right?
He-
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. He square rooted 36 and got plus and minus 6. He did. He technically got 2 answers, right?
But he put the other one.
There. Well, that is still 2 answers. That's -4 plus 6, and that's -4 minus 6. But did he actually simplify that?
No.
No. You should have gotten -4 plus 6 is 2, and -4 minus 6 is -10. He should have given him an answer of 2 and -10. You're all okay? So what can we say? Are they? Is either of them correct?
Yes.
It's not simplified to waste copies.
No,
Is it
it's
not
not correct because Lonzo did not simplify it.
So in this case, you could say both. I would accept both as long as you did the next thing, which it says, explain your answer, right? We've got a math workshop test coming in about 3 weeks or so. So if you told me neither of them correct, then what would be your explanation?
We didn't finish.
That's not a good pre-AP explanation.
Alonzo did not complete his, and Ada
Yeah.
did not add 16 to the other side.
Very good. That would be a good explanation because it may be good enough for you, but it's not good enough to explain to another person what that means. Okay. So if you told me that they were that only Ada was correct, then what would you do? What would you say? Not Ada. Excuse me. If you told me only Alonzo was correct, what would you say?
Alonzo is correct because Ada messed up in so and so places.
Yeah, but what else would you need to say about Alonzo if you said that? There you go. He just needed to simplify at the end, right? Okay, so on your math workshop, you need to decide what you want to write. Either write neither of them are correct, or that Alonzo is correct, as long as you write a good explanation that goes along with it, okay? I'd write that on my paper if I were you. We've got a math workshop coming in about 3 weeks, and this could be on there. All right, what are we doing after this? We got funny men in here today, don't we? What are we doing? Oh, did we not do 18? What was 18? What was 18? Oh, there is an 18 down there, isn't there? Golly, I didn't even see it down there. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, solve. How would you solve by graphing? Put it, there you go. So how would I do that? Yeah, and you would get? Yeah. 5x minus 5, and what does it equal when I do that? 0. Okay. So how would you graph that? There you go. Put your intercept at -5.
If they're equal, so it's like 2 equations when you're trying to figure out where they cross.
That's when we solve algebraically. Yeah. Say that again.
The 5 is the slope.
There
so
you
it's
go.
going up 5 and then over 1.
There you go. And it said to solve. So how do we find our answer from that graph? Just took a test on this. It's the x-intercept. Very good. Which in our case is how much? 1. So what would you say your answer would be? X equals 1, right? But then it says to solve the equation algebraically, right? Since we've already got it like this, Jared, to graph it, let's go ahead and finish this one out, okay? So we know we have 2 terms. What do we do when we have 2 terms? GCF, very good. Which in this case is what? 5, very good. Which leaves me with x minus 1. And when you have a 0 and a product, you split it down the middle wherever the product is. But since the 5 doesn't have a letter, do I even have to worry about him? No, if he had a letter, you would. And so what's x equal?
X equals 1.
There you go. Which is the same thing we got by graphing, okay? What? Added and divided.
You like add 5 to the other side and then divide the 5 from both sides.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you could do that. Same thing. Only because it has an x. If it had anything more, like if it had x squared and all that good stuff, you'd have to. Yeah, same thing. All right, now let's grab our ACT, guys. And we're going to do 26 and 27, okay? All right, bless you. All right, so don't start yet. Not yet. Ready? Go. 2 minutes. Go. 2 minutes. 26 and 27. 26 and 27. All right, 26. We are going to learn how to do 26 fourth quarter, okay? We haven't learned how to do any of this stuff yet. So if you take the June ACT, this one's going to be extremely easy, okay? Do you remember that letter of the day thing that I told you about? If you didn't know how to do one, what do? Just pick your letter of the day, right? Don't randomly guess. Pick your letter of the day. So let me show you how to do this, though, just so in case you take the December ACT, you've at least seen it, okay? So you take the 120, and because it said change it to radians, every single time you would multiply by pi over 180. That would always be what you multiply by, okay? All right, let's see. The zeros cancel out. You've got 12 and 18. It's 2/3. Very good. 6 goes for both of them. So that would be
J.
J.
Thank you.
And we'll do a whole project on 4th quarter on nothing but how to do this stuff, okay? It's very easy, but you haven't seen it yet, so it was probably not very easy for you. But hopefully you used your letter of the day, okay? What about 27? You know how to do that one. It's on area.
Just
Multiply. What's 3 times 5?
15.
What's square root of 5 times square root of 5?
5.
Square root of 25, which is just 5. And you don't even have to waste your time typing that in. Well, you don't even have to do that if you can't do it in your head. What do you know?
All the other ones
All of them have square
square
roots,
roots, so
except for
it's
A.
for A, so it has to be A.
There you go. Everybody okay? Anybody lost? Okay, so we finished everything yesterday, correct? Sweet. So that means we got less to do today. So go ahead and turn to page 22. And we're only going to look at 2 problems. We're not going to do 7 through 9. We're going to do 8 and 9, okay? And I had to give my last set of notes to somebody, so I'm going to need y'all to just call out the answers until I can get some extra notes for myself. So what does number 8 say?
2x squared minus 3x minus 3.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we're doing complete the square. Complete the square is the only time it cannot equal 0. So what would be our first step?
Add 3.
Add the 3. But y'all are pre-AP, so y'all can do 2 steps in 1. What else would you do besides add the 3? We cannot have the 2 in the very front, right?
You have to factor that out.
Well, no.
You divide it.
You
No,
divide
by
everything by 2.
But that's, yeah.
Okay, so it'd be minus 3 over 2x. And then add that 3 over 2 and divide, add that 3 and divide, and you get positive 3 over 2. Anybody lost with that? Okay, what's your second step?
We take the 3 over 2x,
Yeah.
but we take the x out because that's the idea.
Yeah.
The negative 3 over 2 and we divide it by 2, which basically that turns, and we square it, but that turns into negative 3 over 2 times 1 times.
Beautiful. But there's something that I need to show you. You ready? Got your calculator? Wait, where's my calculator? It went away. Okay, so if you'll type it in your calculator, you don't even have to do the keep it switch, or keep change flip and all that good stuff. So what was it? Negative 3 divided by 2, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, you just have to type it in correctly, okay? You have to use parentheses around your first fraction, and then hit divide by 2, and you will get a decimal.
And you just have some math.
Yep. And guys, this really hurts my heart to show you how to do all this stuff in the calculator, but I have to remind myself that this is times, and I want you to get good at using that calculator for a times test, okay? Now, keep in mind that all the rest of these steps, you're still going to have to show me how to do all of them, okay? Y'all good? All right, here we go. So we got, what was it, 3/4? Negative 3/4?
Yeah, negative 3/4.
All right, squared. And you don't want to square it in your calculator because you need that guy right here to cheat in just a minute, right? So it'll be 9 over 16. What would we do with that?
Add to the side.
There you go. All right. So go ahead and add it to both sides and use your calculator. Use your calculator and add that 3 over 2 and that 9 over 16. What'd you get?
33 over 16.
Beautiful. Anybody having issues getting 33 over 16? Speak now, let me know. All right, so that kind of doesn't make my heart so happy because it's 33 over 16, right?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Why am I not completely happy? One of them is.
But one of them is.
One a minute. But really, the most important one is a perfect square. The bottom one is a perfect square because remember from Algebra 1, you could not have a square root on the bottom of a fraction. So since the bottom one is a perfect square, that makes life a little bit easier. How would it factor?
X minus
3/4 squared.
Beautiful.
And then we do the
Keep going.
then we do the square root both
Mhm.
sides. I guess we could get x minus 3/4 equals the square root of 33 over 4.
But since you took the square root of 16, you have to put that plus and minus in front. Alright, y'all okay with that one? Okay, we got one more step to do. What would I do from here? There you go. Add the 3/4 to both sides. Now you remember
Just in our calculator.
Nope. Remember yesterday we were adding the numerators together, right? Can I actually add the numerators together now? No.
So we just need 3 and 2 and
3, and then you completely forgot the plus and minus. You can't change it to multiplication when it was plus and minus, okay? So it would be 3/4.
What's our minus?
Yeah.
The square root of 33 over 4.
Do you notice how the 4 doesn't have a square root over it anymore? So make sure that that square root from the 33 doesn't drop down. But since these have the same denominator, I can make them one big fraction, right? So what would I get?
X equals 3 plus and minus 33 over 4.
Square root of 33 over
Yeah.
4. There you go, one big fraction. Alright, last one is number 9. Go ahead and start number 9. Go ahead and start number 9. Make sure you got your answer for number 8 written as one big fraction, okay? It may be on one that where I can get that definition of other things I've got rates to change. Alright, you good so far? Okay, keep going from there. Keep going from there. Check your work so far. What do we do with that 9 from here? Add it to both sides. There you go.
And then you do
Negative 16.
There you go. Alright, and then how does this factor?
X minus 3.
X minus 3 all squared, right? There you go. Keep going from there and see what you can get for your
Square
answer.
root of
Well, it's a lot easier than the other one though, because it didn't have that fraction. Okay, what'd you get? X minus 3 equal.
4 plus or minus 4. I.
Yes.
Yes.
Why is it an I?
Because it's a negative 16 squared.
Very good. It's a negative 16. So you got to make sure square root of 16 is 4. Square root of that negative is I, okay? Then when you add that 3 over,
So it would be X equals 3 plus or minus 4i.
why can you not add and subtract the 3 and the 4 together, guys?
Because the 4 has the I.
You can't choose.
Very good. 4 has an I. For 3 plus and minus 4I. On your quiz on Tuesday next week, how would you know if you got that answer correct or not when you graphed it?
When it touched the X, it don't have an X in it.
Does it have an x-intercept though? Why does it not have an x-intercept?
Because it's
Not because it's negative. Why? How do I know it doesn't exist? Because there's an imaginary number. Very good, okay? So when you get that I, you know that it's not going to have an x-intercept. Are you okay with that? Anybody lost about that? Yes, ma'am.
I don't understand how about the last.
I added 3 over to the other side. So it's a positive 3, then plus and minus 4I.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yes, Mommy. You sure? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's all that we're going to do on Complete the Square for today. There's several questions that are left, and those would be really good review questions for your quiz on Tuesday, okay? So if you need some extra practice on them, we're going to go to page 23. And what is on page 23? Quadratic formula. And quadratic formula is just another way to find what? The x-intercepts, okay? All right, now, when we do quadratic formula, we still, like always, want it to equal what number? 0, okay? So we don't want to get the x's by themselves like you do with Complete the Square. With quadratic formula, you want to make sure it's equal to 0. All right, what's the first problem? Tell me, go.
So, it's x squared plus 6x equals 16.
Now, couple of things. Don't go ahead of me because I'm going to show you how to do quadratic formula the Algebra 2 way and not the Algebra 1 way, okay? All right, you got your calculators ready to go? Okay, first things first before we get started. We want this to equal 0. You do not, this is what you would do for Complete the Square. But for quadratic formula, you want it to equal 0. So yes, we would subtract a 16 unless you can understand that that's negative 16 when you move it, and then you don't have to worry about that, okay? Do you see how I gave you the quadratic formula at the top of your notes? Okay? All right, here we go. Don't go ahead of me. Stay with me. X equals, what does negative b mean?
The negative the second
term is b, right?
B, but it's like a b negative.
It's like multiplying by a negative, and what does the negative do? What's the only thing he does? He just changes the sign. So if you've got a positive, it's a negative, and then I even, well, I didn't make up a quadratic formula. They even give you the plus and minus in the formula, okay? So you don't have to worry about forgetting it. Then you write square root and you stop. Because we're in Algebra 2. You ready? This is where your calculator comes into play. Look at your formula first. What does your formula say is underneath the radical?
B squared minus 4AC.
Perfect. B squared minus 4AC. Now, you're going to go to your calculator, and you are not going to type in a square root. Because if you type in a square root and you don't have a perfect square, you're going to have to do double work. Okay, so don't type in the square root. But we're going to type in parentheses. B in our case was 6. Close parentheses squared. We're not done, so don't hit enter. Then it was subtract 4 times A, which was 1, times C, which in our case was negative 16, you said? Yeah. Okay. And what goes underneath the radical? Which is 100. Very good. All right, so we put square root of 100. Look at your formula. What's on the bottom of the fraction? 2 times A, which in our case is 2 times 1, which is just 2. Anybody lost about that? Okay, so we're in Algebra 2, right? What's the square root of 100?
10.
10. We're not going to write that step down because we're in pre-AP Algebra 2, okay? So we have negative 6 plus 10, which is
4.
divide by 2, 2. Then we have negative 6 minus 10.
Which is negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8.
Very good. You're on a quiz on Tuesday. You're on a quiz on Tuesday. What's this mean? That's the x-intercepts, right? So if you go to your graph, what's happening at your graph on those 2 points?
Intercepts and 2 and negative 8.
Very good. It intercepts the x-axis there. What happens if you went to your table?
The y would have a 0 right there.
Very good. All right, let's go to number 2. Let's try to get these done. All right, here we go. Number 2, what's number 2 say? Go.
X squared minus 6x equals negative 9.
By the way, I picked all the good problems that I wanted you to use, and they just coincidentally all came out to be B having a 6. No, B will not always be 6. It is just a coincidence. Sorry, I did not realize that until it was too late. So, all right, this is what I mean. If you understand that your C is positive 9, you don't have to write that step, okay? But if you need to, you can write that step. And then you grab, no, we don't. We're not yet.
Wouldn't it be positive 6 and then negative
X squared equals...
Not in the formula. In the formula, yes, but we're not there yet. Yes. All right, so x equals negative b would make that a positive 6. Plus and minus your square root, right? Now, you are in Algebra 2 and Trig. I keep saying that because on the ACT, you do not have time to write all that stuff out and then plug it all in your calculator. You need to start learning how to do this stuff in your calculator because, yes, the quadratic formula shows up on the ACT, okay? All right, what was B? Negative 6?
Negative 6.
And then square minus 4. What was our A?
1
Our C?
times
9 or negative 9? 9? Okay. And what do we get? 0, right? Is anybody lost about where I got 0 from? Okay. And then it's over 2 times A, which in our case is 2 times 1, which is just 2. And what's the square root of 0? What's 6 plus 0?
6.
What's 6 minus 0?
6.
Same thing, right?
Oh, there's only one intercept.
And if you were to graph that, why does it only have one answer? It only has one solution. It only hits the x-axis one time, right? And if you were to go to your table, what would be with 3?
0.
0. All right, here we go. Number 3, I want you to go as far as finding what's inside the radical and then stop, okay? Go as far as finding what's inside the radical and then stop. Do that on your own. Go. Okay. What'd you get inside the radical? 4? Okay. Is anybody lost about where I got 4? Now's your time to speak if you don't know.
6 plus...
Hold on. Anybody lost about where I got 4? Speak now. What's on the bottom of your fraction?
8.
2 times A is 2 times 4, which is 8. Very good. Anybody lost? Okay, what's the square root of 4?
2.
2. So you got 6 plus 2.
6 minus...
What's 6 plus 2?
8.
8.
Over 8 is
Divided by 8 is how much?
1.
1. Very good. Alright, then you have 6 minus 2, which is 4.
If 4 over 8 is 1/2.
That is 1/2. Very good. Very good. Okay, same thing on number 4. Go ahead, stop where you get to your radical on number 4, okay? Go to number 4, but stop when you get to your radical. Around the 6, not the square. marker and put it in the right spot? Okay, because if not, you'll get your A's and your B's and your C's mixed up, okay? What'd you get inside your radical this time? 92 over 2 times 2, which is 4, right? All right, so we did negative b, which in our, we did b squared, which in our case was what? 6 squared, and then minus 4. What was a? 2, and c? Negative 7.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. All right, so then from there, this is why for 2 months we did factoring and radicals, because here they are, square root of 92. It's not a perfect square. How do we do them if they're not a perfect square? Very good. What's the biggest perfect square that divides into 92? Divides into 92. What is it? 4. Very good. How do I know that 4 is the biggest perfect square? What is that, 23?
Yeah, 23.
How do I know that 4 is the biggest one? Very good, very good. 23 doesn't have a perfect square that goes into it. All right, and then what's the square root of 4? 2 on the square root of 23 over 4. But I have one more step. There you go. Anything that is not a radical. See all those 3 numbers? What number goes into, oh, bless you, into all 3 of them? 2. It'd be 1, but I don't have to bless you. Because I have the square root of 20, I don't have to put that.
And then over 2.
Beautiful. Perfect. All right, you think you can handle the last one? Yeah, it's a little bit different though, okay? See how far you can go on the last one, okay? See what you can do. Last one, number 5, yep. And what's the square root of negative 4? 2i. Very good.
And then you divide by 2.
The only reason you can divide is because all 3 of those numbers divide, okay?
Yeah.
What if I had, just for giggles, what if I had this? Can I divide?
You wouldn't be able to do it because
You'd be done, right?
Yeah.
You cannot divide the 6 by the 2 if the 3 doesn't divide by the 2,
So
okay?
basically the classes have to have a GCF.
Yes, they all have to have a GCF, yes.
Divided, we get 3 plus or minus I.
Yep.
Perfect. Anybody lost? Feel tired? No, y'all done for the day?
So you did 6 divided by 2 and 2 divided by 2?
Yes, because they all divide by 2. Alright, so we're finished. We don't have any homework. But before we are completely done for the day, we have to go over what's going to be on your test on Tuesday? Remember these guys?
Oh, yay.
You got to do it because we're going to start chapter 5, which has cubes, very, very soon. Okay? So we have to look at these. So you have two things on Tuesday. You have a perfect cubes test on Tuesday, and you have a complete the square and quadratic formula quiz on Tuesday. Okay? Then you're out of school on Friday. And Thursday is pretty much a wash too, because Thursday morning is the Veterans Day program for like basically first and second period. 7th period we have a pep rally because we have a playoff game Friday. And there's probably going to be one other thing in there too. So Thursday is pretty much a wash. Okay? Does that make sense? Y'all okay? Alright, so we have to get all this stuff done on Tuesday. So here you go. Perfect cubes. What's the first perfect cube? Go.
1.
What's the next one?
8.
Keep going.
27.
Yep.
64.
Yep.
125.
216.
Yep.
343.
Keep going.
512.
729.
Last one.
1000.
Okay, you're on your test on Tuesday. You do not get to use a calculator. So if your brain stops and you're like, oh my gosh, what was 5 cubes? If you don't remember, how did they get 5 cubed was 125? 5 times 5 times 5. And you know that 5 times 5 is 25, right?
Just do 25.
And you just do 25 times 5 if you forget what the number is, okay? But,
81 times is kind of pretty harder.
huh?
81 kind of has to be harder than the other one.
Yeah, but you can do it on the side of your paper. So, we'll go over these again on Monday. We got to learn one tiny little thing with quadratic formula on Monday. Review, quiz, and test on Tuesday. Yes, ma'am.
But we don't get to use the calculator on the stuff we learned.
You don't get to use your calculator on perfect cubes.
Oh, I thought you meant like the other test.
No, we get to use on our quiz. Yes, sir. Yes, go. Oh,